Hello, world of the internet. My name is Simon Miller, and you may have noticed every Monday I do a little thing called Miller's Musings. I guess this is a kind of a takeoff of that, but I'm not going to call it Mrs. Miller's Musings. This is more like Miller just chats about a random topic for a while. And it's a bit of a weird one because it came up completely organically. Hate that word, but I'll use it because it's true. So I did a video the other day. I can't remember what video I did, but I did a video, and in it, very casually, I mentioned that I don't drink, and I gave up alcohol when I was 18 years old. There's nothing really surprising to it. There's no big revelation, or anything like that. I mean, I got drunk once, well, more than once, but it was one night I think it was my 18th birthday, but it may have been just before that, which I shouldn't have been doing. Bad boy. But yeah, I got to the point where I drank so much that I woke up. I had the worst hangover of my life. Good friend of mine, Michael Conquest, who may watch these videos, I don't know, very kindly let me stay at his. And I was just a mess the next day, as we are when we get drunk and we have a hangover, and had my head over a toilet, and Michael Conquest's brother thought it was hilarious, and I was throwing up and I couldn't eat, so on and so forth. And I keep saying as we all do, but I get it. And, I said to myself, I'm never going to do that again. And while usually that's the cliche, that's the stereotype, I actually didn't. I didn't want to do it again. Up to that point, I had never... all my mates would go out drinking, and I would go with them, and I'd have a beer or a Smirnoff Ice or whatever they were having, but it never really made much sense to me. I don't really know what I mean by that, but I just knew it was something that I didn't need to do, although I didn't have the strength of character or the confidence to actually make the decision not to do it. However, after this occasion when I was just an absolute, I hated it. I said, I don't want to do that again. And by that time, I'd found the gym, I'd found lifting weights, I'd found working out, and I had a passion for that. That really made sense to me. And because I'd read articles about how the negative effects of alcohol, I thought, well, maybe I'll just give that up, stop spending money on that, take all my money and my time and spend it on the gym and do that instead. And once I started doing it, I was like, this is good. I felt within myself, at least, we'll talk about what I mean by that in a second, I felt like I made the right decision. Now, that was a big raffle, but at least you're up to date now, you're up to speed. Because somebody mentioned me in the comments of the other video where I mentioned it casually, that they found that really, empowering or confidence building or whichever word you'd like to use, because they're a young guy themselves, and they decided not to drink, and it just made sense to hear someone go, well, I just don't drink because I don't drink, which is honestly the reason. And this is going to sound patronizing. I don't mean it to, so you have to forgive me. I think it's a lot easier to stop drinking in 2018 than when I was. Now, I'm not saying I'm the oldest man in the world, but I read a report on the BBC the other day, just randomly happens to tie in, where it said more young people, I hate that term, but more young people are actually deciding to give up alcohol because they didn't feel like it fit their lifestyle, whatever. And my opinion on this, if you want to go out and get drunk, get drunk. If you want to drink socially, drink socially. If you never want to drink, never drink. It's your life, it's your decision. I'm not here to judge. I never would dream of doing it. Again, because you may have a reason, you may have no reason, but people make decisions because they want to. And I'm not here to question that, especially with something like alcohol, which doesn't really make a huge difference in the grand scheme of things. But the comment really that this person made really struck a chord with me because I knew what they meant. Because the strangest thing about when I gave up drinking, I'm sure this is the same for many, but again, I can only talk from my own perspective, was that it seemed that everybody else thought this was crazy and that I was an alien that had come down from outer space. Now, I gave up when I was 18 and I still went to university. So I went through university without drinking, and I went through most of my adult life without drinking. Here and there, I'd have a glass of wine. And again, it's not something I'm adamantly against, like, I will not drink, boo to hell. It's not that. It's just, I just don't fancy one. I don't need it. It's just a personal choice. I don't want it to sound like I'm being down with alcohol. Not at all. If you're going out later, have a good time. Have a drink on me. But yeah, and that was the hardest thing. And that's why this comment spoke to me, because it was weird, and I used to really panic, and I used to really worry about it, like whether it was like starting a new job and meeting new people and wanting to go out with them and build relationships because that just makes your office work easier, or being in situations where I knew that it would be not like looked down upon, but it would be considered a bit strange or a bit unacceptable not to have a drink because I felt them. And I always stood true to myself. There were a few times where I did the classic get a beer bottle, get rid of the beer, fill it up with water, and just make sure that's in your hand the entire night, just because it was easier than having that conversation for the umpteenth time. But yeah, I remember, so many occasions, and I'm talking way over, probably up into almost three figures, if not high two figures, of people coming up to me and just looking at me like I was an alien or I had two heads, just because I didn't want to drink. Now, this is just my opinion and my take on it. I'm mostly addressing the guy that wrote this. Hopefully he watches this video. If he doesn't, we still talked about it. It's still fun. The only thing I could ever come to when I started to get, because in my 30s I became much more confident and self-assured, and I've never had that feeling again now. Like if I go out tomorrow and I'm meeting a new bunch of brand people, and they said, "You want a drink?" I just said, "Water, thanks," or "Diet Coke," whatever. And they, "Don't you drink?" I'd be like, "No." And if they want to talk about it, I'll talk about it. But there will be no fear, there'll be no anxiety. It's just, man, this is me. If you've got a problem with it, I'll let you deal with that, and we can chat once you've accepted it. But that it definitely wasn't always the case in any sense, and it would play on my mind, and it would really, really, really bother me. And I remember sort of coming up with almost like excuses, or maybe I could say this, or maybe I could say that, or I'll try and divert their attention this way. And it did become a source of anxiety. This is where it ties into the musing stuff a little bit, because I've gone off track here. I remember what I was going to say now. This is my problem when I'm ranting. We'll just cut to that now. We touched on that bit. Yeah, for me, what I came to realize once I had got more confident and self-assured with this is that I really do think it's more a reflection of the other person than it is of me. And I understand that too. I'm not saying these people were relying on alcohol, but maybe within the situation we found ourselves, they were relying on it to have a good time. So when somebody else rocks up, they don't seem that bothered about alcohol, but they still seem to be, smile on their face, having fun. I don't know, maybe it's this sounds really patronizing. I hate, but it's just my take. But maybe it just says to them, or it opens something in their brain where they're like, well, why do I feel like I need to drink to have a good time? Because it's the only thing I could ever come up with. And please, we've got a comment section on YouTube. Let me know in the comments below if I'm talking nonsense. But it's the only conclusion I could ever come to, simply because what does me not drinking affect anyone? There is the other thing as well. Maybe they feel that they can't drink because they're like, well, I don't want to be just that guy. But I would always go, no, you go nuts. You get wasted if all you want. The best thing about me is I'll drive you home. I got a car and I don't drink. So maybe they still feel uncomfortable because, again, there is a social culture around it, so people want to drink together. But I was never really out with people one-on-one that was just drinking. These were more groups of people, and 9 times out of 10, I was the only dude that wasn't drinking. So it's all I could come down with. I thought maybe it definitely is more a reflection on them. But the reasons to it, I still don't know. It could be one of 100 things. Maybe they know they do drink too much alcohol. So they're like, oh no, I got to look in this. Or maybe they decide it's just not somebody they want to hang around with. And I can understand that too. There is a sense of logic to that. It's an extreme logic. But, if someone starts, I don't know, smoking marijuana or doing cocaine or something like that. Again, I'm not into that kind of stuff. Never even smoked a cigarette. It's just not my bag. It never has been. But I'm not going to judge or look down on anybody else for doing that because that's a social and a personal choice. So, if somebody started doing that, then I would probably remove myself from that situation because I wouldn't want to be in that kind of environment. And you could argue that alcohol is like a step down from all that stuff, or at least it's more unobtrusive alcohol. If someone starts smoking a joint, smoke blows around. And if someone's really against it, they're not going to want it in their face. Alcohol doesn't do that. But at the same time, if you are in a social space where you think someone is going to drink, maybe I can understand why they were doing it. Anyway, my point is simply this. It's just a weird thing I wanted to talk about. Don't know how many people will watch it. Don't really care. Not really something I've ever felt the need to talk about because to me now, it's as natural as getting up. It's just something I do. Do you want to drink, Millie? Yeah, I'll have water, have Diet Coke, whatever. But if you are going through that, and I'd like to think that the environment today or the social sphere today is a bit better and more accepting. It seems to be to me, but I don't know. It could just be, again, because I'm more self-assured. But if you do feel that way, again, just a little note to say you're not alone. It's perfectly cool. If anyone gives you a hard time for it, again, in my opinion, it's probably more reflective of them than it is on you. Just keep doing your thing, and eventually you will build up a resilience, a tolerance to it. You won't feel as nervous or as worried, and that's just you, and it's cool that you're you, and it's cool that you come to that conclusion, and it's cool that you know that, much as it's cool if you go the other way and you like going out on the weekend and having a few. That's how I see it. I think in life we should all just find out what works for each other, works for us as individuals, follow your passions, and just make sure every day you wake up, you're as happy as you can be, and we're all going to have ups and downs, ha ha lol, if you watch my What Culture stuff, but it's true. And finding that balance is really the key. So when you do find that balance, even if that means taking something away, such as alcohol, because it, just works more for your brain, I think you should do it. Anyway, there you go. A little bit of a rant here on a Friday, all inspired by some comment and some guy asking why I don't drink, but also saying it was nice to hear because I guess they've gone through similar stuff. So 2 thumbs to that. 2 thumbs to anybody else that watches. Like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment. Let's have a big chat about it. You know, let's see what goes on. And I don't permit these in the musings one, because that's not the point. But as this is a bit of an offshoot, I will say that all my content is supported by patreon.com/Simon316. So if you'd like to see more and you'd like to see all this stuff continue, you can head over there, throw me $1, throw me whatever you can. Anyway, it's Friday. Have a great weekend. Thank you for watching me rant and rave for 10 minutes. Always 10 minutes. The glory of 10 minutes here on YouTube. I'll see you soon.